Hi, I am Dr. Sai Prasad Reddy. So, welcome to this session, that is interview questions and FAQs, session 9 of software testing. Today we are going to discuss about the primary goals of software test engineer and about early testing. These two topics we are going to discuss along with the interview questions. Now, so in interview you can expect these questions like, what are the goals of software test engineer? So which are the primary goals of software test engineer? Why testing should be started at the early stage in the software development life cycle? See, as a software test engineer you will be having so many responsibilities and so many goals. Like say you have to do the reviews of the requirements document, and you have to review these use cases, you have to review the test cases, you have to design the test cases, you have to design the test conditions, you have to review the test conditions, you have to prepare the input test data. So many goals should be there, so many responsibilities will be there. Out of all these goals and responsibilities, which are the primary goals for software test engineer? This we will discuss. And the second, so when the software testing activities should be started in the software development lifecycle, or when the software testing team will start testing activities in the project, that we will discuss. Right? Now, see, what are the primary goals of software test engineer? Basically, this question, what are the goals of software test engineer, or which are the primary goals of software test engineer, will be asked to the freshers. These two questions in interview they will ask for the freshers. So what are the primary goals of software test engineer? The primary goal of the software test engineer is to find the defects in the software. That means as a software test engineer you have to find the defects in the review process as well as in the execution process. Now, so when the software test engineer has to find the defects, the software test engineer has to find the defects in the early stage of the development life cycle. Which is the early stage in SDLC, in software development life cycle? Early stage is requirements. Requirements is the early stage in the software development life cycle. So, as a software test engineer, you have to find the defects in the requirements stage itself. Right? So, what is the benefit of finding the defects in the requirement stage? See, if you find the defects in the requirements document, then and there only those defects can be rectified. If you find the defects in the requirements document, that is in the early stage of the project, it is possible to remove those defects from the requirements document. Then, if you are removing the defects in the requirements document, you can prevent the defect multiplication. What do you mean by the defect multiplication? Defect multiplication, that means one defect may create multiple number of defects. Say, if you see this software development life cycle, the early stage is requirements document, the next stage is analysis, the next stage is designing, the next stage is coding, the next stage is unit testing, integration testing, system testing, user acceptance testing. These are all the different stages or phases in the software development life cycle. If any software test engineer misses to find the defects in the requirements document, that defect will carry forward to the next stages in the software development life cycle. That means, if you miss finding of the defect in the requirements document, that the defect will carry forward to the analysis, and then the defect will carry forward to this designs and then coding. Yes or no? So that means one defect may create multiple number of defects. This is called a defect multiplication. This defect multiplication can be prevented if and only if the software test engineer finds the defect in the requirements document. Right? So in interview question they may ask you, so as a software test engineer, when these testing activities will be started in the project, then you have to say the testing activities in the project will start from the requirements stage itself. That is early stage in the software development life cycle itself. Right? Next. After finding the defects, what you are supposed to do? You have to report those defects to the development team. Right? So, how to report those defects in the development team? Each and every company will follow some format. Defect reporting document will be there. Defect reporting template will be there. By using that template only, you have to report those defects to development team. So, what are the different types of defects and what are the templates for the defect reporting, and how the software test engineer has to report the defects to the development team? We will discuss going forward in future sessions elaborately. And after finding the defects, you have to report that to the development team. And after reporting those defects to the development team, as a software test engineer, what you are supposed to do? You have to track the defect status. That means whether they have accepted the defect or not. After accepting, whether they have fixed the defect properly or not. Like this, you have to track. That is tracking the bugs or tracking the defects for the status. This is also your responsibility. Once the defects are fixed, resolved, rectified by the development team completely and correctly, and then you have to do retesting, and then you have to close that fix. These are the primary goals of software test engineer. See how to track the defects and how to close the defects and how to report the defects to the development team, and about this defect reporting template and what are the different fields in the defect reporting template. Everything we will discuss in future sessions. Right? Next. Why testing should be started at early stage in the software development life cycle? So, as I explained now, the early stage is nothing but the early phase in the software development life cycle. Which is the early stage in the software development life cycle? Requirements phase. Right? So, the software testing activities should be started from the requirement phase itself. So, what are the testing activities that will be done by the software testing team in the requirement phase? They have to review the requirements document. What is the main goal of review? Finding the defects, finding the faults in the document. Right? So, now, by performing the reviews, the software test engineers has to find the defects in the requirements phase. So if the defects are found in the requirement phase itself, that is at the early stage itself, then the cost of fixing the defects will be very less expensive. Here what is the cost? Cost is nothing but effort by the software test engineers and effort by the concerned author of the document to fix the defects, to rectify the defects. This is a cost, effort and time. If the defects are found at the early stage itself, in the first stage of the project itself, then it will be very easy for the people to fix the defects. That means the fixing of the defects will be the less expensive, right? And then if the defects are found at the later stages, that means at the end stage or at the last stage, so what will happen? The cost of finding and fixing the defects will be more. Say for example, if one defect is missed in the requirements document, that defect is carried forward to the analysis and then to design phase and then to the coding phase. According to the requirements only, the software development team will do coding. Now, if the same defect is found in the coding phase, then it will take more time. Right? So finding the defect also more expensive and fixing the defect also more expensive. That is why the software test engineers should find the defects at the early stage itself in order to prevent defect multiplication, right? And then modification of requirements is also possible. See now, so this early testing will prevent the defect multiplication. That is one fact. And the second one is, if they find the defects in the early stage, in the requirement stage, then it will be very easy for the guys to modify the requirements accordingly. So modification of the requirements is also possible. Yes or no? So this is about the concept, right? And the second thing is, now, so these are the MCQs, multiple choice questions. So generally, most of the companies actually, they will conduct the technical screening test for the software test engineers, even for the freshers, as well as for the experienced people up to 3 years. Many of the companies nowadays actually they are conducting screening test, technical screening test. In this technical screening test, you will have the multiple choice questions, right? And you have to clear that exam. After clearing of these multiple choice questions, that is a technical screening test, then only the face-to-face interview will be there in the next stage, right? These questions will help you more to take technical screening test as well as all competitive exams, and for ISTQB also, and sometimes some GATE questions also, right? Now, you have to read each and every question carefully, and you have to read each and the option very carefully, and you have to understand all these options, and you have to choose the correct option, right? Now see, and for the question, I have given the explanation. For some questions actually I have not provided the explanation, because if the question is demanding the explanation, then only I have provided explanation. Some questions are the straight questions or simple questions. For those questions actually I have not provided an explanation. Now, which of the following characterizes the cost of the faults? Options: they are cheapest to find in the early development phase and the most expensive to fix in the later test phases. They are easiest to find during the system testing, but the most expensive to fix them. Faults are cheapest to find in the early development phase, but the most expensive to fix them. Although faults are most expensive to find during the early development phase, they are cheapest to fix them. These are all the options. Now, we have already discussed. So, now, I have given the explanation here. So, you can read this explanation. By reading this explanation, you can understand very well the concept, and you can easily answer the question. So, what is the answer for this question? Option A is the correct option. Because they are cheapest to find. That means they means defects, faults. The defects are cheapest to find in the early development phase and the most expensive to fix in the later phases in the software development lifecycle. This is a correct option. Option A is correct one. The second, the cost of fixing a fault is not important. Increases as we move the product towards the field use. Decreases as we move the product towards the field use. Is more expensive if found in the requirements than functional design, can never be determined. So what is the cost of the fixing the faults? Right? Now, so which is the correct option? Option B is the correct option. Because the cost of fixing or the cost of rectifying or the cost of resolving the defect in the software project increases as we move towards the end of the project. That means towards the field use. Field use means end of the project. Right? Next. Consider the following statements about early test design. Early test design can prevent fault multiplication. Faults found during the early test design are more expensive to fix. Early test design can find the faults. Early test design can cause changes to the requirements. early test design normally takes more effort, right? So here I have given the explanation. You can read the explanation, each and every point, and if you understand this explanation, you can easily answer the question. So which is the correct option? See, early test design can prevent the fault multiplication. Yes, that is true. That is correct. Next, faults found during the early test design are more expensive to fix. This is wrong. This is very less expensive to fix because you are finding the defects in the requirements document itself, in the first stage itself. So if you are finding the defects in the early stage, then it will be less expensive to fix. But here in the option they have given more expensive. That's why the second option is wrong. Early test design can find the faults. Yes. Early test design can cause changes to the requirements. Yes. Because if you find the defects in the early stage itself, that is in the requirement stage itself, there will be a possibility to change the requirements. And early test design normally takes more effort. No, it will take very less effort. Right? So option A is correct one. That is 1, 3 and 4 are true, 2 and 5 are false. So like this, you have to analyze each and every option. You have to understand each and every option and you have to choose the correct answer for the question. Next, which of the following statements are true? Faults in the program specifications are most expensive to fix. Faults in the code are the more expensive to fix. Faults in the requirements are the most expensive to fix. Faults in the design are the most expensive to fix. So which is this stages? What are the different stages in the software development life cycle? The first is the requirements. Yes or no? Then the program specifications and then designs and then coding. Here the coding is the fourth stage. So now these defects which are found in the code will be more expensive, and also to fix those defects, to fix those errors in the code will be also most expensive to fix. Right? So which is option? Option B is correct one. Next, the cost of fixing a fault. Yeah, I think this question is repeated. I'm sorry. So the cost of fixing a fault is not important. Increases the later the fault is found, decreases the later a fault is found, can never be determined. Which one is correct option? So option B is correct one. Increases the later the fault is found. That means later stages, in the last stages. Right? Next. What stage of bug fixing? Bug means defect. What stage of defect fixing or bug fixing is the most cost effective? See, you have to understand this keyword, cost effective. What do you mean by cost effective? Cost effective is nothing but which takes the low cost, which is more economical. That means with a less cost, that is a cost effective. Which is the most cost effective? Bug detection, that is finding the bug. Bug analysis, analyzing the bug. After finding the bug, you have to analyze the bug. Bug prevention, preventing the bugs or defects, all of the above. Which is most cost effective? Obviously, the bug prevention is the cost effective. Because you know there is a popular saying, prevention is better than cure. That means if you prevent that there in the initial stage itself, so that will be more cost effective. That means it will take less effort, right? So these are the multiple choice questions, right? And please subscribe my channel, share my video sessions to all the students groups, those who are searching for the job in the IT industry for software test engineers position, and please like my sessions and don't forget to raise your comments in the comment box. Thank you.